Good morning and welcome to Ark and Dove Presbyterian Church in Odenton, Maryland. I'm Brian Boudreau, the clerk of session here at Ark and Dove, and your host in the lobby, the weekly program about the life and mission of the church. So this week is the 10th Sunday after Pentecost, and today I will be talking to an Apiarist. Well, don't know what an Apiarist is? Stay tuned to find out. But first, let's look at the announcements. In-person sanctuary worship continues every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Worshipers of all ages are welcome, provided they wear masks into the sanctuary. Just be sure to RSVP on the webpage to attend. Reservations for outdoor services are no longer needed, and the next outdoor service will be August 8th at 9:15. So please check the homepage of the Ark and Dove website for any cancellation information. The website is updated on the morning of the outdoor service. So out of consideration for others, masks are truly welcome at the outdoor service, but they are not required. And don't forget about Summer Sunday School. That's continuing on alternating weeks. The next one will be August 15th. This is an in-person outdoor event for rising kindergarten through 8th graders, and masks will be required for these events. And the adult Summer Sunday School will take place at the same time. So parents, drop your kids off and join the rest of the gang in a discussion that Pastor John is leading on Mythbusters, Christian Mythbusters, looking at the Bible and exposing those myths. So come as you are. There's no homework and no RSVP necessary. Beginning Friday, August 6th at 7 p.m., the Glean team will host the LGBTQAI plus support group for the first Friday of every month. It's at 7 p.m. on Zoom, so contact Amanda Kroos to RSVP and get the Zoom link. Middle and high school youth are invited to a fun learning experience with the center next Saturday, August 7th at 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please contact Pastor John for more information, and if you're interested. The Healing Through Grief group is August 11th at 7 p.m., led by Pastor Tim, Deacon Kathy Davis, and Lenny Gardner. So Lenny can send you the Zoom invitation. The Summer Book Club August selection is A Lesson Before Dying by Ernest J. Gaines. Now, this book has appeared on some young adult reading lists, so you may consider reading this with your older teen. Join Pastor John and Kim Champagne on Zoom on Tuesday, August 17th at 7:30 p.m. Mission Ministry is back in full swing. Check out some of these great events that you can support. So online signups for the Back to School backpack program from the Department of Social Services and the Anne Arundel County Public School System will start today, August 1st. You can sign up in person at the 10:30 worship or by contacting Greg Makar. So Ark and Dove will be providing backpacks and supplies for about 35 students at Odenton and Seven Oaks Elementary School. And we will also collect supplies for Meade Middle School students. So like I said, you can sign up online or after the service. There's multiple ways of signing up. You can also support this month the Christian Assistance Program, CAP, West County Food Pantry in Severn by donating cereal, both hot and cold, tomato products such as canned tomatoes and pasta sauce and rice sides, limited to 2 pounds, please. So donations can be left at the church on the table just inside the front door or in the covered picnic area. You can support Habitat for Humanity through the special offering in July and August. You can simply text a dollar amount followed by Habitat to 410-983-3481. And finally, the Anne Arundel Literacy Council is collecting gently used books for a book fair it is holding this October. So a box for collection is right here in the church lobby, just over here. And you can also contact Wendy Wellington to make other arrangements for pickup. And so now for our regular activities, we have the weekly Bible lectionary every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pastor John has a Zoom invitation for you there. The Sunday fellowship is right after the service, starting around 11:45. You can email fellowship@arkanddove.org anytime during the live stream service to get a Zoom invitation. The crafting group meets on the first Wednesday and third Monday of each month at 7 p.m. via Zoom, and Amy Tardif leads that group. She's got an invitation for you. Saturday night game night with the deacons. You can get a Zoom invite from Ellen and Greg Makar. Now, in our continuing series of Meet Ark and Dove, we have a guest that most of you will recognize. But what you don't know about this person maybe is that they are an avid apiarist. So what is that, you ask? Well, maybe it might be best for them to explain. So let's welcome my next guest to the program today. So glad you can join us.
Well, hello, Brian.
It's Ellen Makar. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
What is an apiarist?
It's a beekeeper. A bee, where the place where the hives are, that's an apiary.
Okay, so you are into bees. And so where do you have these bees?
Well, for real, I have them farther out in our yard, kind of on the edge of the woods and our grassy area. That the bees like to have some trees to fly around in for maybe some protection, but of course they want to get to the flowers. The trees also have a ton of flowers in the spring. So
Okay, so now
I do have a sample hive right here with me. There are no bees in here.
no bees, so nothing too close to the house. So you live in an area that you can have bees. Do you have to have a large amount of property to do that, or?
Not at all. There are plenty of people who have city hives, like up on the roof of their house or their building. As long as there are sources of food nearby, like there are trees or flowers or a park or a wooded area.
Okay, so how did you get into beekeeping?
So the short story is to help my garden pollinate and produce more food. The long story is, one summer, Greg saw a hive of bees, Winnie the Pooh style, like a black cloud, fly into the siding of our house. So that was a swarm. We got in touch with the beekeeper. Over the course of the summer, he attracted, which also means tricked, the bees out of our house into a hive like this one. But as the course of the summer went on and he was coming over, he said, "Oh, look at your yard. You have so many different kinds of trees. This is a really good place for bees. They would do really well here." And I had heard of the bee population being in decline. Of course, I had this garden that I wanted to pollinate. And by the way, it did much better that summer because of all the bees. So I said, okay, I'll try this. I'll try to keep bees myself.
All right, so how do you start out keeping bees? How do you begin?
It's quite a process. I mean, you could try to just buy a hive and see what happens, but I took a class. I strongly recommend taking a class. Just about every county in Maryland has a club, a beekeeping club, and they usually either put on classes or will hook you up with a mentor who can sort of teach you the basics, because there's a lot to learn.
So you have to buy equipment. Obviously, you have protection that you need, right? Can you describe that?
Yeah, sure. So, the main thing is, you're working with bees, they might sting you. They're going to try to sting you. So keep your face protected with a hood. And then you can buy a whole suit. They don't get real riled up over the color white. So usually beekeeper suits are white. I use my own white clothing. I did not buy a suit, but you do have to get hold of a hive. I think if you're going to start out for the first time and you're going to buy equipment, right, everything new, probably expect to spend about $200 the first year, and that probably includes your bees. But a lot of times you can find used equipment on Craigslist or Facebook, or maybe you have a friend or something like that. So it doesn't have to cost that full amount.
All right, so you have to buy a hive.
Yeah.
And what does that hive look like?
Well, it's covered up with, it's mostly made of wood. You can paint it to protect it from the elements. I painted mine brown just because that's the color paint I had. Most people paint them white. And in the hive are a bunch of, this is the comb. This is where the bees are gonna, they put this wax on, excuse me. It starts off just with, it starts off with no wax. So the bees have to build up the wax, and then they build up the wax. The queen is going to lay her egg in there. Then the worker bees are going to cover it up, and they're going to hatch out into new bees, or the worker bees are going to fill up around the edges with nectar, cover it up, and in a little while, several weeks, it'll become honey. So that's what the beekeeper wants usually, is the honey. But of course, the bees are coming in and out, going to the plants to gather the nectar and the pollen, and that's the pollination that I want.
Okay. So you mentioned, so we haven't actually talked about the bees themselves. So you have a queen bee, and then you have the colony. So
it's
how
funny,
do you get that?
You normally buy a package of bees and they come in the mail, or you can drive to a beekeeper. Like, I kind of like to drive to a local beekeeper to buy them, because then I know they're suited to this climate. You can also buy them in a mini hive called a nuke. So they already have their wax built up, their comb, and that's you're a little more likely to have success, but they're a lot more expensive to buy it that way. It's really tough to keep them alive over the winter. So just be prepared for some heartbreak. They're probably not going to last the winter.
So,
And
so
you feed them year round, basically.
okay, so every year, do you have to get new bees?
Yeah. I mean, even the good beekeepers only have about half of their bees survive, or half, like one complete hive will die off, but maybe one hive will stick around with, enough survivors to build up again the next spring.
Will that hive move from like one hive to the next? Can they?
Typically, no. Typically in the spring and the summer, the queen's laying eggs all the time, so new ones are hatching. And as it gets too crowded, maybe half the hive will split off, and that's a swarm. So if you're lucky, you can catch it, go to the maker's house, get it out of their siding, or you just, if you have another hive set up next door, maybe you can attract them into there, or, you can also, if you see it's about to if it's getting really full, you can split it. And that's kind of the more controlled way to do it. Yeah.
All right. How often do you check on your bees?
At least once a week. You don't want to be bugging them. They don't like it when you go in there, but you want to make sure that no pests have invaded, which they will. You want to make sure the queen is still in there, because if they've swarmed, maybe the queen left, or maybe a new queen has hatched because the bees are unsatisfied with the current queen and have what do you call it? Encouraged a new queen to, it's all the same egg. It's just how the workers treat it, whether they have a new queen to hatch.
So you have a usurper.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I see that there's like several shelves. Is it layered?
Yeah, there are, each section is like one hive body. And again, as the numbers of bees increase, you're going to add a new hive body. And then when you're going after the honey, you put a divider on between the sections, so that the queen, who's fatter, bigger, way bigger than any other bee, the queen cannot fit through that divider, but the workers can. So they're still going up there making the honey, but she's not going to lay any eggs. So this way, when you go to harvest the honey, you're not harvesting any eggs, which is gross.
Okay, so you have no eggs. So you harvest honey? You make your own honey?
Yep.
How do you do that? Do you just, I don't know, how do you make honey?
So you pull out each of these combs, and they're going to have a thin coating of wax on the top. You're doing all of this in a closed-in room so that no bees from the outside can come in, because they're going to smell the honey. So you kind of carefully peel off or cut off with a knife the top layer of wax. Then you stick them in a big, it's like a garbage can thing that spins. So the garbage can is going to spin it real fast, and the honey is going to fling out to the outside wall or the inside wall of the garbage can. And then it all collects in the bottom, and there's a hole in the bottom, and you open up a valve on that hole and drain it into your bucket. And I would get, like 2 or 3 5-gallon buckets full of honey each summer. I only did one harvest at a time, but the real serious beekeepers can maybe do one in June and maybe one in August or September. And of course, you have to leave honey for the bees to eat over the winter.
Okay, but 5 gallons of honey, that's a lot of honey.
It's a lot of honey, yeah. Yeah. So I would sell it at a farmer's market or something.
All right. I had a colleague who did that, and everybody in the office bought a little jar of honey, and it was delicious. Is there any truth to the matter that local honey is better for you? There's health benefits to it?
I have some friends who really swear by that might have a little more seasonal allergies if they don't get their honey. The first thing they teach you in beekeeping school is pass out the honey to your neighbors, so that they're not getting mad at seeing your bees and worrying that they're stinging their, them or their grandchildren or whatever. So I always give away plenty too.
Do you have any problems with bees stinging people? Have you had?
No, my neighbor will tell me, "Oh, Ellen, I see your bees on my mint. They're really happy." Or occasionally like, "Oh, I'm pulling a lot out of the pool. Is everything okay over there?" So, but no, they're usually very happy to get the honey and then report on the activity of my little flock. So
Right. So how long have you been doing this now?
I think I took the class about 7 years ago. I don't have any bees right now, so I've taken some summers off, but it's been about 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
Oh, so you don't have any bees this year?
Yeah, that's correct.
So what about the colony collapse that I hear? Do you see that? Do you experience that
Yeah,
yourself?
again, like I said, even the best beekeepers lose about half of their hives every winter, and that didn't used to be the case. It used to be like 10%.
Wow.
And I think the kind of consensus is that now it's just a combination of the pesticides that are in so common use, of habitat destruction, and just wonky weather. Kind of, if they come out, if there's a warm spell early in the winter, they'll come out, and then it gets cold again, they might, die. They just have, their bodies can't adjust that quickly.
Oh, wow. Okay. So there's a lot of factors there.
That's the consensus, that it's no one thing, that it's a big combination. Yeah.
Okay. If I wanted to learn more about beekeeping, where can I go?
Well, like I said, your club for the real class. I think there's a lot of YouTube videos, and I understand there's a new documentary out. I don't know the name of it. But and we do have some other apiarists, other beekeepers in the congregation. Just ask your friends. It's a really, the life of a hive and bees is so interesting, as like just the sociology of it. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I know that we would love to make it sometime when you have bees again. We would love to make it out there and see them.
It is definitely a risk of getting stung. So, and it's a hot, sweaty, heavy type of thing, because you're lifting these hives again with, maybe 30, 40 pounds of honey in there, and another maybe 20 pounds of bees in there. So it's heavy.
Now, do both you and Greg do it, or is this is your hobby?
Just me. He thinks I'm crazy.
Well, Ellen, just when I think I know everything about
And
you.
he's kind of PO'd that he's got to avoid running the mower around those like, where the hives are, because those bees will come at you if you're on the mower near them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to wear long sleeves.
No, you just avoid it. Just avoid it.
Ellen, I think I know you so well, and then there's always something, you reveal some other interesting side of you. It's wonderful. So thank you for taking time out to just talk to us about this just absolutely fascinating hobby.
It's really interesting. Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. I encourage anybody who is interested in gardening to throw some bees onto there, because it really makes it kind of all bloom all the more beautifully.
Yeah, I'm wondering what my neighbors would think when I put a beehive up in our
You
backyard.
give them some honey and you explain to them all your plants are going to be pollinated better. They're going to love it. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
So, and to everyone out there, thank you for joining us this week. We want to learn more about our friends at Ark and Dove. So if you've got an interesting hobby like Ellen, or an interesting story about your life to do on our Meet Ark and Dove segment, please email us at worship@arkanddove.org. So more details about everything we talked about today can be found in the archive or on the webpage. So stay safe, have a great week, and join us in the Zoom fellowship after the live stream service. But the live stream service will begin in a moment.